Eric, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time. Let me start with Jerry Jones with 18-game regular season. Not the first time we've heard this, but how does the NFL Players Association react to this?
Yeah, it's definitely, and thanks for having me on, Dan. Yeah, it's definitely not the first time we've heard this, and I don't think our position's changed. I don't have any guys coming up to me saying, Eric, hey, can you really make more games happen for us? We're not playing enough right now. So that's the way I look at it. The guys don't see the positive trade-off. The guys don't see it as something that is good for their careers, good for their bodies, et cetera. So much has been already written on it and said about it. I don't see, and I haven't heard anything that changes that.
Well, I guess I'm wondering if you have a lot of these players who are role players, secondary players, if they know that they can make $500,000 extra with these 2 games, wouldn't the majority of players want to sign up where your marquee players probably wouldn't want to add 2 more games to the regular season?
Yeah, but that's not in actuality what would happen. There wouldn't be that much more money to be spread around. That would increase every player's by $500,000 on average, and then 2, that money would go into the cap, and as you know, and as we know, that cap is going to get tilted heavily towards the star players. So, some of your star players would make more, but your role players, in my view, and the way I've looked at it, and everything I've read, and the people that I've talked about, even with GMs, on how that money could be spread, wouldn't go to your role players, wouldn't go to your guys, your middle of the road guys that you're talking about.
Jerry Jones also said that there was data that backed up his claim that there's more concussions, an uptick in concussions during the preseason as opposed to the regular season. Have you seen this data?
Say that again?
Jerry Jones talked about that. Do we have the exact wording on that, McLovin, just to be fair to Jerry Jones?
Yeah, he said there was a study. If they eliminate 2 preseason games and add 2 regular season games, it will actually add to the health because there are more injuries during preseason.
Seton, do you have the sound so I can play it for Eric? Here's Jerry Jones.
My solution is real simple, is cut back on preseason games, have 1 at each team's home, play a couple of them, and then you need to add 2 games to the regular season, which I've been a proponent of for several years. It's probably physically better for players than it is to have the longer preseason, the longer practicing. Our studies show that we actually have a ramped-up injury situation with players during preseason.
Have you seen this data?
Yeah, so you got lies, damn lies, and statistics, right? Listen, what he's referring to, I believe, and this is the data I've seen, is what he's referring to is a heightened concussion rate or a heightened injury rate in the preseason because you have 90 guys on a roster in the preseason, some of them which are they're the first time in their NFL life. They don't know what they're doing. Obviously, indecision leads to injury. And then in the regular season, you have practices in which you only hit once a week. During this season right now, you're hitting 6 times a week. So, of course, you could say, oh, well, there's more injury rate. There's a greater injury occurrence in the preseason than there is in the regular season. But we all know that's not really how you would read the data if you were sort of being honest about it, let's face it, and how that ends up shaking out. So, I mean, let's just look at it from a common sense standpoint. Does anybody think playing 2 more games is safer for players? No. So to act like playing 2 more games is safer for players is just, to me, a pretty silly comment.
We're talking to Eric Winston. He is the president of the NFL Players Association. Where do we stand with the anthem? Feels like it's kind of quiet on both sides here. What's going to happen opening weekend?
I don't know. I don't go out and tell guys, you have to do this or you have to do that. I mean, that's, they make their decisions. I can tell you right now that the 2 sides have been talking. We've been talking about a resolution around this issue, and we've been talking about making sure that the guys, especially the guys that have protested, have a forum so they can come in and directly speak to some of our ownership about what exactly they're trying to do. And I think a lot of guys are looking to move from from where they've been to action now. They want something, they want to make it substantive. They want to make it lasting, and I applaud that because I think at the end of the day, that's what our guys have always been about is really making substantive changes in the neighborhoods they've grown up in and the society that they see around them. So we're still talking about it. We're still trying to figure out exactly what it looks like. But I think as you said, things have been quiet because we have been talking. We've been trying to give ourselves the distance to make sure that when we come to some sort of resolution, it is lasting and that it's meaningful.
Isn't this more team by team, Eric, than it is the overall perspective of the NFL or the Players Association, that it's the owner dealing with his team, dealing with his local market?
In which way?
Just that you want to appease your fan base there, that the owner is only, Jerry Jones is only worried about Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott standing for the anthem. He wants his star player. He wants everybody standing here. I don't think he's as concerned about the rest of the league as he is, how does this come off to my fan base? Jacksonville, how's it come off to that fan base? So it feels like it's more, team by team of how these owners are approaching this.
Well, some of these ownership, too, can only affect their team, their locales. But I would tell you that a lot of ownership feels that football is not viewed that way, that it's a national game, that we're a national pastime now, and we're America's top sport. So you can also say that, hey, fan bases, if you're in New York, you watch the Monday night game between the Chargers and the Raiders or whomever's playing, and whereas you have in other sports, it's a very local sport like you're talking about. Now, obviously, ownership can only affect that, but I would tell you that ownership is concerned with what's going on around the league, and that ex-owner in one locale is worried about what's going on in other locales, even though they might be able to only affect their team. I would say they're worried about what's going on throughout the league, and I understand that. But at the same time, like I said, these guys are trying to effectuate some positive change in their neighborhoods and in the society they see. And so, we're facilitating a lot of these discussions, and like I said, I'm still hopeful.
Eric, thank you. We appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
All right, Dan. Thanks for having me, man.
It's Eric Winston. He's the NFL Players Association.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.